You step outside on a Saturday morning, ready to tackle the weekend chores, and you notice something odd. Right there, cutting across your otherwise perfect lawn, is a strange, almost geometric pattern. At first glance, it looks like a section of the grass is simply dying off. Maybe a sign that your sprinklers missed a spot, or some weird fungus is taking over. Most people just sigh, fire up the lawnmower, and run right over it, hoping a little fertilizer will fix the ugly blemish next week. But if you ever spot this bizarre webbing of raised earth and discolored grass in your yard, you need to turn off the mower and step back immediately. What you are looking at is not a lawn disease, and it definitely is not a watering issue. You have just stumbled upon one of the most intricate hidden worlds happening right beneath our feet. And the strangest part is, you probably walk over it every single day without realizing that a massive, breathing piece of biological engineering is functioning just inches below your shoes. Nature has a funny way of hiding its most brilliant architects right in plain sight. When we see perfect lines or strange geometries in the wild, our brains immediately assume something is wrong, or perhaps human interference is to blame. But these weird squiggles and raised bumps in your turf are actually deliberate, carefully constructed highways. Something is hiding down there. If you look closely, getting down on your hands and knees, you might notice that the pattern is not random at all. It branches out like the veins on a leaf or the tributaries of a river, expanding outward from a central hub. You might even feel that the ground is slightly soft, yielding to the pressure of your fingers. That is because the earth here has been hollowed out, excavated with a level of precision that would make modern engineers jealous. People spend hundreds of dollars on lawn care, trying to eradicate these perceived imperfections, dumping chemicals and poisons into the dirt to restore that golf course green look. But by destroying this hidden network, you are actually suffocating your own soil. This pattern is a warning sign, yes, but not of decay. It is a sign of life, of a complex ecosystem, working overtime while you sleep. The truth is, beneath that layer of green, a tiny workforce is busy saving your yard from turning into a hardened, lifeless slab of dirt. And if you run that mower over their delicate ceiling, you are collapsing a vital infrastructure that has taken weeks, maybe months, to build. So, who exactly is responsible for these mysterious earthworks? Depending on where you live and the exact shape of the pattern, you are likely dealing with one of a few incredibly elusive creatures. Most of the time, the culprits are small mammals, like moles or voles, or in some cases, highly organized colonies of subterranean insects. Moles, for instance, are not the blind, clumsy pests many people think they are. They are perfectly adapted digging machines, equipped with massive, paddle-like front paws that act like shovels, capable of displacing enormous amounts of soil in a remarkably short time. A single mole can dig up to 18 feet of surface tunnels in an hour. Think about that for a second. An animal no bigger than a potato can excavate a trench across your entire yard while you are watching a single episode of your favorite show. What you see on the surface, that strange, winding ridge of dead or raised grass, is just the roof of their foraging tunnel. They push the earth upward as they swim through the dirt just below the root line, hunting for earthworms and grubs. Voles, on the other hand, create different kinds of patterns. They are rodents, looking a bit like field mice with shorter tails, and they construct shallow runways right at the surface, chewing through the grass to make clear paths. This often looks like a chaotic map of tiny dirt roads winding through the green canopy. And then there are the insects, like certain species of solitary bees, ants, or beetles, which create highly structured, almost alien-looking geometric mounds and entryways. When you look at these patterns, you are not just seeing dirt pushed out of the way. You are looking at an architectural marvel designed for efficiency and survival. These creatures do not just dig randomly. They follow the moisture, the temperature gradients, and the subtle shifts in the soil's composition. They are responding to the environment in real time, building a dynamic network that constantly changes. The strangest thing is how invisible they remain while doing all of this. You rarely see a mole above ground. They live their entire lives in the dark, navigating by touch and an acute sense of smell, reading the vibrations of the earth to avoid predators. When you start your lawnmower, the massive rumble sends shockwaves through the ground, terrifying these tiny engineers and often causing them to abandon their near-surface works, or worse, trapping them as the heavy wheels crush the fragile tunnels. It is easy to view them as invaders, ruining the pristine aesthetic of a suburban home. But this perspective completely misses the grander picture of what they are actually doing down there. They are not destroying your yard. They are fundamentally transforming it, acting as the custodians of the underground world. To truly understand why you need to stop mowing and leave these strange patterns alone, you have to look at the ground not just as dirt, but as a living organism. Soil is not just crushed rocks and dead leaves. It is a dense, thriving habitat that requires one crucial element to survive: oxygen. Over time, rain, foot traffic, and yes, heavy lawnmowers compress the soil, packing the particles so tightly together that air and water can no longer penetrate. This is called compaction, and it is the silent killer of suburban landscapes. When the ground gets too hard, the grass roots suffocate. Water pools on the surface instead of soaking in, and the microscopic life that feeds the plants begins to die off. This is where our hidden architects come in. Those bizarre tunnels and raised ridges you see in your grass act as the literal lungs of the earth. By carving out these networks, moles, voles, and burrowing insects are naturally aerating the soil. They are opening up channels that allow fresh air to reach deep into the root zones. When it rains, these same tunnels act as drainage systems, capturing the water and funneling it down into the subsoil where it is needed most, rather than letting it wash away over the hard surface. It is a brilliant, completely free service that nature provides to keep the ground healthy. Without these creatures constantly churning and turning the earth, the topsoil would eventually become a barren, impenetrable crust. Every time a mole pushes through the dirt, it is mixing organic matter, bringing deeper, nutrient-rich soil to the surface, and pulling decaying leaves and debris down into the earth where it can decompose. It is a massive recycling operation. The dead grass you see along the tunnel's path is just a temporary side effect of this essential maintenance. Sure, it might look a little unsightly for a few weeks, but the long-term benefits to the surrounding vegetation are immense. The plants growing near these aerated zones eventually become greener, stronger, and more resilient to drought, simply because their roots can finally breathe. It is fascinating how we spend so much time and energy trying to artificially replicate this process. We rent heavy, loud aerator machines that punch little holes in the dirt, hoping to relieve the compaction. We buy expensive chemical wetting agents to make the soil absorb water better. Meanwhile, a handful of tiny animals are willing to do all of this for us, creating a far more complex and effective aeration system, if we just let them work. So, when you look down and see that zigzagging pattern ruining your perfect lawn, try to shift your perspective. You are not looking at damage. You are looking at the earth taking a deep, necessary breath. But the magic of these underground networks goes far beyond just soil aeration. These tunnels create a ripple effect that supports an entire hidden ecosystem, setting the stage for a chain reaction of life that extends well beyond the edges of your yard. Once a mole or a vole finishes with a tunnel segment, they rarely use it forever. They are nomadic within their own territories, constantly abandoning old highways to dig new ones. But nature never lets good real estate go to waste. As soon as the original builder moves on, these empty corridors are quickly repurposed by a host of other fascinating creatures. Frogs, toads, and salamanders often use these pre-dug shelters to escape the scorching heat of the summer sun or to safely hibernate during the freezing winter months. Without these deep, insulated burrows, many beneficial amphibians would simply not survive in our highly manicured suburban environments. Bumblebees, which are absolutely crucial for pollinating our gardens and local flora, frequently seek out abandoned rodent holes to build their underground nests. By allowing these strange patterns to exist in your grass, you are indirectly providing a sanctuary for the very pollinators that keep the local ecosystem blooming. And it gets even more interconnected. The presence of small, burrowing mammals naturally attracts larger, majestic predators to the area. Owls, hawks, and foxes rely on these populations for their survival. While that might sound a bit harsh, it is the fundamental rhythm of nature. A yard completely devoid of moles or insects is a dead zone, offering nothing to the local food web. But a yard that embraces its hidden residents becomes a vibrant patch of the wild, contributing to the health of the entire neighborhood. This is where the danger of chemical intervention becomes so painfully obvious. When homeowners panic at the sight of a tunnel and start dumping poisons, grub killers, and toxic repellents onto the grass, they are not just taking out a single mole, they are poisoning the earthworms, which are the primary diet of the moles. They are killing the grubs, destroying the soil structure, and ultimately poisoning the predators that might eat the affected animals. The toxic runoff seeps through those very tunnels, polluting the local groundwater. It is a devastating domino effect that stems from a simple misunderstanding of what a healthy lawn actually looks like. Real nature is not flat, uniform, and neon green. It is messy, dynamic, and full of strange geometries. The raised ridges in your grass are the veins of a living environment, pulsing with activity and purpose. By pausing the mower and choosing not to crush these structures, you are making a conscious decision to participate in this ecosystem rather than fight against it. You are stepping back and allowing the ancient mechanisms of the earth to function as they were designed to, long before perfectly manicured lawns were ever invented. So, what should you actually do the next time you step outside, coffee in hand, and find a weird raised pattern snaking its way across your grass? First and foremost, resist the urge to flatten it. Do not immediately grab the heavy roller or fire up the lawnmower to erase the evidence. Take a moment to really observe it. Track where the lines start and where they lead. You might notice they head toward a particularly damp part of the yard, or weave around the deep roots of an old oak tree. You are quite literally reading a map of the hidden resources buried in your own property. If you absolutely must, mow the surrounding grass. Raise your mower deck to its highest setting so the blades glide harmlessly over the raised earth, leaving the structural integrity of the tunnels intact. Give the invisible architects the time they need to finish their work. Usually within a few weeks, the animals will move deeper or migrate to a different area, and the raised soil will naturally settle back down under the weight of the next heavy rain. The grass, now benefiting from the newly aerated and deeply hydrated soil, will quickly recover, growing back thicker and greener than the patches around it. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to fix it. You just need to let it happen. It is incredibly humbling to realize that despite all our technology, our concrete foundations, and our noisy machines, the wild world is still operating right beneath our feet, quietly repairing the damage we inadvertently cause. These tiny engineers ask for no payment, they take no days off, and they do not care about property lines. They are driven by an ancient instinct to dig, to hunt, and to build. They turn dead dirt into living soil. The next time you see those strange, seemingly destructive shapes in your lawn, do not feel frustrated or defeated. Instead, consider yourself lucky. Your yard is alive. It is breathing. It is hosting a masterclass in biological engineering, hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for you to notice. So, keep your eyes on the ground, tread lightly, and remember that sometimes the best thing you can do for your slice of nature is absolutely nothing at all. Will you let the hidden world thrive, or will you silence the lungs of the earth with the roar of a machine?